Imagine a family reunion, but instead of relatives, it's the world's biggest economies. Welcome to the G20. It's a club for countries like the US, China, Germany, Japan, and South Africa, meeting yearly to tackle global issues: money, climate, health, you name it. The G20's power? Getting all the major players in one room to solve problems no single country can fix alone. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? The G20 acted like a global fire brigade, coordinating to put out the flames. But getting 20 leaders to agree is like herding cats. Every word in every agreement is a battle. One wants climate action, another wants energy jobs. It's a diplomatic dance where everyone protects their own interests. When the G20 agrees, they can steer the global economy. When they don't, things fall apart. The annual summit isn't just a photo op. Their decisions affect your job, gas prices, and the planet's future. The G20 represents over 80% of the world's economic output and 2/3 of its population. So when this group meets, the world pays attention. It's a test. Can global leaders put aside differences for the greater good? Or, as we saw in 2025, will one country flip the table and turn the whole reunion upside down? Even before the 2025 summit in Johannesburg, the drama was brewing. G20 officials meet all year to draft agreements, but this time, the US showed up with a red pen and a list of forbidden words. Words like transition, as in to clean energy, and equity were suddenly off limits. The US wasn't negotiating. They were blocking, refusing to even discuss standard language. It was like trying to bake a cake without flour. Impossible. In health talks, universal healthcare was also banned. The result? No consensus, no joint statements. Other diplomats were baffled. The US would state its position, refuse to budge, or sometimes skip meetings entirely. This wasn't diplomacy. It was a blockade, holding the G20 process hostage over vocabulary. The goal wasn't compromise or shaping the agenda. It was to ensure there was no agenda at all. Ministerial meetings on finance, health, and climate all collapsed. The US strategy? Grind international cooperation to a halt. For the first time, the G20's machinery was jammed by a single member's refusal to play ball. The stage was set for a summit like no other. Just when things couldn't get messier, President Trump dropped a bombshell. The US would boycott the 2025 G20 summit in Johannesburg. Not just sending a lower-level official, a full-on boycott. Trump called South Africa's hosting a total disgrace and said the country shouldn't even be in the Gs. This wasn't a policy disagreement. It was a public insult, trying to kick the host out of its own party. The boycott capped months of tension, including a 30% US tariff on South African goods. The message: the US didn't respect the host and had no interest in a summit on African soil. The G20 summit is also where the presidency is handed over. South Africa was set to pass the torch to the US for 2026. With the boycott, there'd be no ceremonial handover, a break from tradition. By refusing to show up, Trump wasn't just skipping a meeting. He was rejecting the G20's spirit of partnership. The move dominated headlines and undermined the event before it began. It was a complete break from diplomatic norms. The message was clear: America first, everyone else last. The world watched as the G20's biggest player walked away. Why boycott and insult the host? The Trump administration claimed concern for South Africa's white minority, citing white genocide, a narrative debunked by journalists and crime stats. Trump offered refugee status to white farmers, painting a picture of chaos and persecution. But there's no evidence of a targeted campaign against whites. The claims are misinformation. The real reasons were more complex. South Africa's independent foreign policy, its BRICS membership, and its legal challenge to Israel, all seen as defiance by the White House. Land reform in South Africa, aimed at correcting apartheid-era inequalities, was seized on as proof of the false narrative. The boycott was less about safety, more about punishing a country that challenged US interests. It was a message: defy America. and you'll pay the price. Disinformation became a tool of intimidation. The fallout would reshape US-South Africa relations and the G20 itself. Faced with a US boycott and public insults, South Africa's response was simple: their loss. President Ramaphosa's two-word reply was a masterclass in diplomatic shade. No angry rebuttals, no drama, just calm confidence. South Africa made it clear. The summit would go on, agenda unchanged. The theme was solidarity, equality, sustainability, and they stuck to it. By refusing to be drawn into a fight, South Africa flipped the script, projecting maturity and leadership. The message: the G20 isn't about one country's tantrum. The US absence was downplayed. The work continued. South Africa denied Trump the public brawl he seemed to want. Their loss implied the US was missing out on shaping global policy and building relationships. The world would keep moving forward, with or without America. The US boycott sent shockwaves, but not the kind Trump hoped for. Instead of panic, the other G20 members rallied around South Africa. The absence of the US created a power vacuum, and others, especially the EU and China, stepped in. With the Americans and their vetoes gone, real negotiations could finally happen. Diplomats felt a renewed sense of purpose, tackling climate and health issues even without US participation. The boycott, meant to weaken the G20, actually strengthened the resolve of the other 19 members. The world saw America retreating, while China and others built new bridges. A G20 without the US isn't ideal, but the group refused to let one nation dictate the agenda. The boycott tested the G20's resilience, and the group was determined to pass. The summit became a symbol. Global cooperation doesn't depend on a single superpower. The world was ready to move forward, with or without the US. Experts and diplomats were nearly unanimous. The Trump administration's approach was self-defeating. By refusing to engage, the US gave up its seat at the table and its influence. The world's major powers would meet and make plans, with America on the outside looking in. The move prioritized short-term drama over long-term strategy. Ironically, America First ended up weakening American leadership and pushing allies closer to China. Global problems, pandemics, climate, finance, can't be solved alone. The boycott was a rejection of that reality. To add controversy, Trump announced the 2026 G20 would be at his own golf club, raising ethical alarms. A Supreme Court ruling gave him immunity from some conflict of interest laws, but critics saw blatant self-interest. The administration's foreign policy looked driven by personal and political whims, not national interest. The world took note, and not in a good way. The 2025 boycott raised a big question: can the G20 survive if its biggest member refuses to play? There's no way to kick a country out, so the group is stuck. America's still a member, but actively undermining the process. The G19 can still make deals, but every agreement has a giant, America-sized hole. This could split the world, G19 countries cooperating, the US going its own way. The precedent is dangerous. If the US can walk away, why not others? Summits risk becoming optional, not essential. But maybe the US absence will force others, EU, China, India, Brazil, to step up. If the G19 can function and make real decisions, it could reduce reliance on American leadership. The 2025 summit is the first test. If it works, a new, more multipolar G20 could emerge. If not, it could be the beginning of the end for the G20 as the world's economic forum. The 2025 G20 boycott is about more than one summit. It's about two visions for the world. One vision, cooperation, diplomacy, and solving global problems together. The other division, zero-sum thinking and dominance over partnership. The Trump administration's America First approach tore down the old system without offering solutions. By boycotting, insulting the host, and sabotaging talks, the US chose isolation. It might please some at home, but it damages America's reputation and influence. When the world's leading power walks away, it creates a dangerous vacuum. The G20 summit in South Africa went on. Leaders met, talked, and tried to solve shared problems. The empty US chair was a powerful symbol of a nation choosing to walk away. As President Ramaphosa said, their loss. But in a world facing crisis, it's a loss for all of us. Because now, more than ever, we need more cooperation, not less.